Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling a truly radical premise from the late, great Bob Proctor. We are talking about completely escaping that exhausting time for money trap that honestly, so many of us are caught in. Today, we're going to explore the mechanics behind an idea that might sound completely impossible at first, literally turning your annual income into your monthly income. Now, doing that requires a total paradigm shift, and we're going to break it all down using the exact structural secrets and philosophies that Proctor laid out for us. Think of this explainer as a structured masterclass. We'll be hitting 5 distinct phases today: the big income shift, the stream of power, the law of compensation, 3 strategies for earning, and we'll wrap up with multiple sources of income. Let's get right to it. Number 1, the big income shift. To really understand how this works, we first have to look at Bob Proctor's own personal transformation. It actually all started when a friend handed him Napoleon Hill's classic book, Think and Grow Rich. At the time, Proctor was 26 years old. He had, wait for it, 2 months of high school education and absolutely 0 business experience. The guy was flat broke, and he felt like he was entirely out of options. To put that into perspective, $4,000. That was his absolutely meager yearly income at the time, but it actually gets worse, because he owed $6,000 in debt. He calculated that if he took every single cent he earned and put it toward his debt, it would literally take him 18 months just to break even. He was completely mathematically stuck. But then, an incredible shift happened. Within just 1 year of applying the exact principles we're about to cover, he went from earning $4,000 a year to earning $15,000 a month. I mean, he completely leaped over his old limitations. And the most fascinating part, as he notes himself, he didn't suddenly get that much smarter. You see, you don't actually have to be a genius to earn money. You just have to understand the basic structural rules of how it works. So this brings us to our core goal: turning your annual income into your monthly income. Now, if you're sitting there thinking this sounds like a gross exaggeration or just some motivational fluff, consider Proctor's business partner, Sandy Gallagher. She was a brilliant securities attorney who literally handled $100 billion in banking deals, buying, selling, merging banks, the whole shebang. People like her who truly understand money at that massive structural level, they entirely understand and validate this exact financial shift. Because it's about mechanics, guys, not magic. All right, moving to part 2, the stream of power. Now, to understand the mechanics of money, Proctor points us right back to the macroeconomic concepts of Napoleon Hill. Hill suggested that money flows based on a very specific universal current. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this quote from Hill. Take a second to absorb this. When money comes in quantities, known as the big money, it flows to the one who accumulates it as easily as water flows downhill. The implication here is just fascinating. Hill explains that there exists a great stream of power, kind of like a river, and it flows in 2 completely opposite directions. One side carries you onward and upward to wealth, and the other sweeps you downward to poverty. And what dictates which side of the stream you're on? Your thinking process. The positive emotions of your thoughts carry you to fortune, while the negative ones literally sweep you toward poverty. And look at this stark contrast in how these 2 financial states operate. Poverty, it needs no plan. It happens automatically. It's bold, it's ruthless, and it will absolutely take over if left unchecked. Riches, on the other hand, are described as shy and timid. They don't just happen to you by accident. Riches must be deliberately attracted through a well-conceived and carefully executed plan. Basically, you have to actively row your boat over to the correct side of the stream. Which brings us to section 3, the law of compensation. So how do we practically build that plan to attract wealth? Well, that requires understanding Ralph Waldo Emerson's exact formula for how money must actually be earned in this universe. Emerson states that your income will always be in an exact ratio to these 3 specific variables. Number 1, the need for what you do. Number 2, your ability to do it. And number 3, the difficulty there will be in replacing you. It's an exact ratio. If you want to increase your compensation, you simply have to look at these 3 steps. But here is the crucial point. You actually only need to focus on step 2. Why? Because the need for what you do is probably already there. You don't have to go out and invent the need, unless, you're trying to sell pet rocks or something. And if you completely master step 2, your ability to do the work, well, then step 3 takes care of itself. Because true mastery makes you incredibly difficult to replace. You literally become the only competition you'll ever have. Just focus everything on getting better at what you do. Moving on to Section 4, 3 strategies for earning. Now that we understand the law, we've got to shift our narrative over to practical execution. We need a solid strategy. But here is the major roadblock that trips up almost everybody, and it actually starts with our traditional education system. The hard truth is, traditional education completely fails at teaching these concepts. Schools will gladly teach you how to invest money, how to store it, and how to count it. They will absolutely drill it into your head that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but they never, ever actually teach you how to earn a living. And this holds true even at the absolute highest levels, whether you go to Harvard, Oxford, or Stanford. If you don't actively learn or teach your kids how to earn money, they simply are not going to learn it from the school system. Because at the end of the day, there are really only 3 specific strategies for earning money: M1, M2, and M3. Let's break these down. M1 is trading your time for money. The massive glaring flaw here is saturation. It honestly doesn't matter how much you earn an hour, eventually you just run out of time. Then there's M2, which is investing money to earn money. This is an excellent strategy, sure, but if you don't have deep expertise or access to someone who does, you usually end up losing it. High risk. And finally, there's M3. Multiplying your time by setting up multiple sources of income. This right here is the ultimate path to true wealth accumulation. And this brilliantly illustrates the real problem in our society. It becomes incredibly clear when we look at these numbers. A staggering 96% of people use the M1 strategy. Think about that. Almost everyone relies on the inherently flawed system of trading time for money. Only 3% use M2, and a tiny, tiny fraction, just 1%, actually utilize the M3 strategy. But check this out. Witness the inverse reality of the wealth distribution. Get ready, because here is the massive aha moment. That tiny 1% of people utilizing the M3 strategy, they control 96% of all the money earned. Meanwhile, the other 99% of the population are left fighting over the remaining 4% of the wealth. It completely proves that wealth isn't about just working harder in a flawed system, it's about shifting to the right strategy. So, Section 5, multiple sources of income. Let's see how this all builds into the ultimate solution. To join that 1%, you have to adopt the M3 strategy, setting up multiple sources of income. This is exactly what every wealthy person in history has done. The fundamental concept of M3 is simply to earn money while you're sleeping. Now, to be absolutely clear here, this does not mean going out and getting multiple jobs. No way. That would just be doing M1 multiple times and completely exhausting yourself. It means setting up systems. With the internet, network marketing, and global connectivity, you can absolutely generate streams of income that work passively around the clock without your direct physical labor. But to do this, you really have to change your mindset. Alvin Toffler, back in his 1970 book Future Shock, predicted the massive changes coming to our world. He said, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be the people who can't read and write. They're going to be the people who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." To adopt M3, you literally have to actively unlearn the traditional time for money conditioning that you've been taught your entire life. Once you unlearn that limitation, you quickly realize the world is shrinking and opportunities are everywhere. Your multiple sources of income can be set up all over the globe. It really doesn't matter where you live. And these sources, they don't all have to be massive. Some will be big, some will be small. But the truly beautiful thing is, they all share one characteristic. They all flow right into your one central bank account, continually adding up and up. So having seen the mechanics, knowing the law of compensation, and understanding the M3 strategy, I want you to take a second and really think about this question. How much do you want? Seriously, now that you know the structural rules and that it isn't just about trading your finite time, what is your ultimate financial goal? Because, as Napoleon Hill said, the big money is ultimately a mental construct. It starts right there in your mind. The rules are clear, the strategies are completely proven, and the opportunity has honestly never been more accessible than it is today. You just have to be willing to unlearn your limits. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you know the map, are you ready to cross the stream? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me today. Keep learning, keep unlearning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.